Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
Was that not fun last night? Was that not beautiful to see Kyle Gibson on the mound performing that way? Alec Boehm's making defensive plays to make the crowd go nuts. You got Bryson Stott as well just flashing the leather. Obviously, we saw the power in the bats from Kyle Schwarber to Nick Castellanos to JT Realmuto, Rhys Hoskins, Derek Hall. Whoa, whoa, whoa. The team is hitting the long ball. But the storyline was how magnificent Kyle Gibson was. Sometimes I get mocked a bit for my praise of Gibson. People feel I give him too much juice in a positive direction. Kyle Gibson can give you a stud-like performance. Obviously, there will be times where he falls flat on his face, but he's a savvy vet. There's a reason why I utilize that description for him. You can't use that for anyone who's just been around the block, okay? Yeah, there's veterans, but then there's savvy vets, and Kyle Gibson just has a little bit of something about him that gives me a sense of belief when he's on that mound. You could go back to the Cardinals, and you could see one explosion occur where teams were hitting the long ball back to back to back to back, and it definitely got ugly. But that's an outlier, and sometimes when something like that occurs, it sticks in the brain of some where you feel that moment is more of a reality, but it's not. It's like you always remember. Let's use social media, for example. This is something that kids are taught these days because it is an outrageous spot to be as a young one growing up. I'm glad I didn't grow up in the world of Twitter. I got the MySpace and the AOL Instant Messenger and all that. My screen, you know what? I don't even want to go there. It's pretty embarrassing. But when you look at the way people are taught, the young and the youth growing up in this new world of media and the internet, don't remember. It's easy to remember the tweets that are bad about you. If one person tweets bad about you and 50 people say great things about you, you're going to remember the one that was painful and awful. Let's tie that back to Kyle Gibson. When you do have the upsetting outings, those stick in the brains of some compared to how many times he has stepped up to the plate, how many times he's given you that quality start, how many times he's kept your team involved in a game and then either fortunately or unfortunately, the offense maybe didn't have it that day. Man, Kyle Gibson, I'll tell you what, facing a lot of adversity as well with going through some family things, and that's not easy. Everyone handles things differently. I just remember from a personal standpoint, and this does not relate to Kyle Gibson or anybody else because there's no right or wrong way to handle something like that he went through with his life, losing a loved one. But my personal tied to going through something like that. I remember I was going through training camp when I was in college hockey. It was my sophomore year, and, I wanted to make a statement, and then I ended up having to take some time away and go through some family stuff with my uncle, and it was not easy. It's like you're balancing training camp and making sure that you're there and you want to make the team and make a statement to your coach, but then something happens in your life that takes you away from that, and it's like, whoa, hold on, real life. You put that hockey stuff to the side and real life hits you. It's a very hard emotional balance. So to see Kyle Gibson go through that, come back and handle all that adversity and have a stellar performance the way that he did, it is not easy. So I commend him. And of course, his family is in all of our prayers, as that is a very difficult thing to go through. I loved watching the guys behind him, though. They played really sharp defense, and you could tell that they were rising to the occasion. Everybody knows you don't have to look at the scoreboard. You know what's going on. And then, unfortunately, though, we saw the hit by pitch. We saw the single. But the round of applause that you get after something like that happens, that's a goosebump moment for me. So awesome, awesome, awesome. Damn it. I just tried to win a pair of Jordan 5s, and I did not win them on my Nike app. Hold on. Now I got to go to the sneakers app and see if I can get another opportunity here. It's a crazy world, these shoes, and I can't get them either on the sneakers app. It's a tough day. We're used to taking L's, though, when it comes to shoes. It's very rare to win these days. Anyway, that's enough of getting sidetracked. Retired the first 18 batters. Your offense gives you a nice, comfortable way of starting. Hey, here's a 4-0 lead. Have at it. And then Nick Castellanos is out there hitting the long ball again. Right now, I don't care who it's against, right? Because I'm sure there are some out there just wondering, does it matter if it's against the Washington Nationals? I'll tell you for free, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. We're okay with this. There's no reason to criticize who the opponent is. You can only handle what the schedule gives you. And you can look at some of these teams in the NL Central, and you can look at who they have to face during the backstretch, the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Mets, and there's some really tough stretches coming up for some of these teams that you're looking at. And I reference a team maybe like the Brewers because who knows? There's a possibility that they slide. There's a possibility that the Cardinals sneak up over top of them, and now you're not even talking about the St. Louis Cardinals anymore. I'm not a big believer in Milwaukee, let's just say that, and I'm not scared of them either, and maybe I'm biased because it seems whenever the Phillies do match up against them, favor the Phils, advantage Phils, and I'm just going off of gut feel, not actual statistics or anything, but doesn't it feel that way whenever Milwaukee comes to town or whenever the Phils go to Milwaukee? Here's Josh Hader, what's that, Alec Bowman, Matt Vierling go yard and snag their soul, right? Those things did occur, so, I'm going off a gut feel here. Bear with me. I'll take the Nationals. All right, I'll take some of these teams at the Phillies. Don't say, it's easy for them. It wasn't easy for them in the beginning of the season. They're on a phenomenal stretch since the firing of Joe Girardi. Since June 1st, they're 37-19. There's only two squads that have a better record since that point, and that's the Atlanta Braves and the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're 10 games over 500. There was legitimacy, though, to the beginning of the year dialogue where we talked about how tough of a schedule they had. Everyone thinks it's an excuse, it's this and that, and there's times where sometimes it is pushed a little heavily on things. But there's reality to it as well. So that was the hard moments, and you didn't really find your gel yet. It's early in the season. Schwarber wasn't catching fire. He hit his 34th home run of the year. It took him a while for him to establish himself. So if you play those same teams now, because I don't want to hear, I can already see it somewhat formulating these thoughts of, well, if you can't beat the good teams and you're only beating the bad teams, who are you anyway? Well, who you are now isn't who you were in May. It wasn't who you were in April and June. It's a totally different thing. Teams find a mold. Teams blend together as the months progress. And then by August, let's utilize the last couple of World Series champions to define this. Were the Nationals, who won the World Series, the same team they were in May as they were in October? Absolutely not. Same with the Braves. So it's not fair to kind of find a way to correlate the losing early on to beating bad teams now. It's just not the same because so much changes. And oh, by the way, they're doing this without Bryce Harper. And they were doing this without Gene Segura. And they're doing this with a bad Nick Castellanos. So no matter who you're playing and no matter how bad they are in theory, and not necessarily just in theory, because, yeah, a lot of these teams do struggle, and you trade Juan Soto and you trade Josh Bell, and when you remove those home runs to the team, what the hell are the Washington Nationals? They were nobodies with those players. It's even more severely pathetic. But I think you all understand my point and where I'm going from there. You can't change who you're playing. So they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's a big statement, too, though, from that 5-inning game. Thor struggles. The game's cut short. The Nationals were fighting back a little bit. No. You got no shot in hell in winning game 2. They're taking care of business. On the best show ever, we were kind of having some conversation about, well, what if they go 2-2? What if they go 1-3 in this 4-game series? And I'm laughing, thinking to myself, that's not this Phillies. This Phillies team wins these series. That's what they do. That's what they do. There's no fear. And I made that very clear after the previous series just ended. So I got nothing. I got nothing in terms of anxiousness for the Nationals. It doesn't mean they're going to sweep them, because that's very difficult no matter what. But it was a no-brainer lock, 3-4, and now he gets Suarez on the mound. And I almost thought a little bit that Kyle Schwarber pitching right after Thor was somewhat of a let's see. And I'm not ruling Thor out after one start. And realistically, I don't even think 2 starts is enough, because he just didn't look comfortable. It looked like there were a lot of emotions going on, and you settle into a fan base, you settle into a team, you settle into a playoff race. He's still probably back end. But in regards to who's the number 3, I think it's been Kyle Gibson, unless someone steals it from him. What he did yesterday, that's beautiful work. It's a lot of fun. It's entertaining. And there's something about his personality as a baseball player on the mound, his demeanor, his body. I just love. It goes back to the savvy. I love the savvy. I need to date back, though, a little bit to what Bryce Harper said the other day. Bryce Harper was in the booth, and I'm pretty sure I accidentally forgot to mention, I had it in my notes as well. When he was in the broadcast booth, my man mentioned Trey Turner being his favorite MLB player to watch. Oh, Bryce, you're so damn funny, because a few years ago it was JT Realmuto. You know exactly what you're doing. Trey Turner's going to be on the market. They're going to go after him because Bryce wants him. He's the spokesperson. You get Alec Boehm at third base, Trey Turner at shortstop. Gene Segura with that club option is no longer with your franchise. Stott's playing second base. But it just cracks me up because of the way he says it. Bryce Harper's very polished, and it's not the first time I've mentioned this, but sometimes I think he's too polished. We give him a lot of and trust me, being too polished is way better than the alternative, but I find him corny at times. I love him to death. I absolutely love him, but his polished professionalism, but he knows what he's doing. He's playing to the fan base. He's playing to the young kids with the fanatic, this and that. But I like the Kyle Schwarber is my example of a pro that I love who still gets it, right? He's got a little bit more of an edge, a little bit more of an attitude. Now, he hasn't been the face of a magazine the way that Bryce Harper has. Bryce Harper is almost on the level of LeBron when it comes to growing up in this fame and growing up with the cameras in your face. So there's 2 totally different sides to this. But I'm just cracking up anyway to hear Bryce Harper talk about, oh, my favorite player, Trey Turner. Dude, that guy probably put that suit on, went into the booth, said he'd stay there for 9 innings if the game did not get postponed or canceled, just to make sure that statement was made loud. There was also something else that somewhat squiggled through the cracks a bit. And he talked about this fan base and how you have to handle this fan base as a player. Maybe he was just answering the question because it's a stereotypical question that you would ask a player on what it's like to play in the city, or was it a statement to Nick Castellanos? Maybe they didn't love the way that he handled certain things, and then it's sort of like a public, yo, dude, because everyone's a little bit different. You can't talk to everyone the same way, and Nick Castellanos is an interesting cat. So I wonder if that was somewhat of Bryce trying to make a little bit of some noise towards Nick. I have to admit, though, every player so far that has handled major adversity, other than Familia, has responded to it. Alec Boehm with the I hate this place. JT Realmuto with the Toronto stuff. He's cleaning up. Castellanos has looked better since the Jim Salisbury debacle. Jose Alvarado going from AAA after getting sent down back up to the majors. So, there's a lot to be said about the makeup of the clubhouse when multiple guys handle some sort of adversity on the field a certain way with responding. So that is great to me. I love the fact, though, also that the Phillies are being talked about more than the Eagles. Now, maybe that's because the Eagles are giving us nothing in training camp. But this is also what happens when you're 10 games over 500. 856-442-9805. That's the Anytime Hotline. I'm switching back to the old ways a little bit. I think it gives people a better opportunity to make the show. So instead of doing live calls, I'm going to set it back up with a voicemail box. So after the game is over, you can call the Anytime Hotline instantly, leave your voicemail, and then I will pluck your voicemails and play them on the show. I just think it gives people more of a chance to get their voice heard instead of only being able to call within the timeline of when when I am live. So 856-442-9805. It's also a text message board, too. So I'll play calls. We'll also read some text. And, of course, there is a way to get involved in the show through the chat as well. And that's why I want to give Jonathan a little shout out here with a $5 donation. I'm just hyped with this team because they're fun. We really have a shot this year. So mad the game was on Apple TV, so I had to listen. Yeah, I know a lot of people had the issues with the Apple TV stuff and all. There's plenty of ways in other areas to watch the game, if you know what I mean. A little wink, wink. There's ways online to get the job done. But yeah, I mean, I don't prefer these Apple TV games or these Peacock games by any means. Thank you so much for the $5. I agree, though, man. This team is so entertaining. I can't wait for the next game. Right? I'm already waiting for tonight at 6 o'clock p.m. I can't wait to see if they go for their first 3 for 3. It's a damn fun team. Personalities are starting to come out a little bit. The team has an identity. They have a brand to them. There were teams previously where you couldn't connect. Even if they started out the season in the first 2 months with a nice record, there was no relationship involved. I can't argue that it's possible Odubel Herrera not being here, Familia not being here, also allows the fan base to open up a bit too, because, yeah, when you bring a player like that back, it does somewhat force the fans to do something that's a bit uncomfortable, right? I have to root for a team, but I hate Odubel Herrera. What am I supposed to do when he's at the plate and it's a 3-2 count? Or if he hits a home run, this and that. It's just weird. Without those style of players or people, maybe the better way to put it, now your heart's more open. Jeremy checks in and says, how's that shade on Nick and Rhys now? While I get Nick shade, I don't get why you've hated Rhys Hoskins all year. Look up his numbers. He's been great. I haven't hated Rhys Hoskins all year. All I did was I mentioned that I haven't felt like a major Rhys Hoskins impact other than that one earlier stretch. That doesn't mean he's been bad. Maybe he's just been steady and just kind of going through his pace at a fine rate. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, he hasn't played bad by any means. He's got 20-plus home runs. I'm used to Rhys having like this insane level of whoa. You don't forget about those 3 weeks because he carried you. And he did that earlier. And right now, guess what? It seems like he's starting to heat up again and do it. But I don't think it's unfair to say that he's kind of been quietly going about business. And I don't think that that's a horrible thing. I haven't hated Rhys Hoskins. I've just recently mentioned that it hasn't been as eye-popping, but maybe you can make the argument that that's better. Going steady about it instead of the extreme highs and lows, over 162, if you're getting something that is a little bit more just standard instead of 116 for 3 weeks and then followed by a 392 for 2.5 weeks. He's just giving you that 250, flirting those home runs in there and getting you 20-plus homers to this point. It's basing it off of what the previous Rhys Hoskins has been and then this year. I mean, I've looked at his numbers, and his numbers are what they are. He's hitting around the 247 mark, 250 mark or so. And yeah, especially in this day and age, you hit 250 and you're surviving for damn sure. I don't know if that's necessarily the case 50 years ago, but it is now. And he has the power, and it's going to be fascinating to see what happens with Scott Boras and him as you look at that arbitration year. And even beyond the arbitration year. But I don't hate Rhys Hoskins. And even in years past when I mentioned trading Rhys because we were somewhat in a weird spot and whatnot, it was because I thought he had value because he was good. So let's trade someone who we think is good, especially where there's a lot of potential first basemen sliding over, whether it was Alec Boehm or anybody else that you could put at first base. JT's probably a future first baseman when he gets to the back end of his contract because of his age. Let's maximize and rebuild some of this system because he was a good player. I'm happy they didn't, though. I'm happy they did something else. I didn't hate Rhys. He's a crucial part to this. You need that bat. All right. We're going to take a call here from the Anytime Hotline.
Well, what's up, bros? Just got done watching a nice Phillies win. Really fun game to watch. When the boys are hitting the ball the way they did today, they're a really good team and they're really exciting. And it's a really fun team to watch right now. I think it's just everyone 1 through 9 is hitting the ball hard, and they're hitting bombs. That's what we like to see. How about Kyle Gibson today? Just honestly, I was shocked at how well he did. I knew it's against the Nationals, not the best hitting team in the league, but still for Kyle Gibson to do that today, that was really impressive, and I'm glad he was able to do that. Great Phillies win. Excited to see what this team has next.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I appreciate the call. I enjoy a really good Kyle Gibson start. There's just something about it for me. See, it's maybe because when Wheeler does it. There's something about Zach Wheeler where we know that Zach Wheeler's going to mow you down in 7. Aaron Nola, there's some question marks here and there, but for the most part this season, very good when he gets his number called. Kyle Gibson, I have a soft spot for the savvy veteran. We got a text message coming in from Mark. This came in last night when the game ended. When will Rob Thompson get the interim tag removed? Ricky Bo mentioned this during the show on Friday. And this would be a really good time for it. I think that there could be some sort of adrenaline rush from this, a little bit of momentum from the guys in the clubhouse going, yeah, let's go, Rob, right? How about the day they clinch the playoffs? The day they clinch the playoffs, here's Rob Thompson speaking with Dave Dombrowski, and they're removing that tag. There's really no rush to make it happen right now. Maybe it's the day before the playoffs begin. And maybe that is the same time as the day the Phillies clinch, because I don't think we're going to have any sort of breathing room, which would be disappointing if you had to use a Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola to get your ass in a position, because then when you think about a 3-game set that's possibly on the road, now you don't get to see what a Wheeler and a Nola will look like. But that's a story for another day and sort of a debate for another day. Not that there's really a debate to it. You got to do what you got to do to get in, and then from there you kind of have to play the cards that are dealt for you. But could you imagine that sort of excitement level and the happiness for Rob if it was the day before the playoffs began? I would imagine that not only the excitement of playing playoff baseball again, but that too, it just brings everybody together even more. I can't imagine them looking in another direction, though, when it's all said and done. Everything you're looking for is right here. It's succeeding. The guys love him. He's pushing all the right buttons. Remember that body language from Joe Girardi? He was cooked. He was fried. We saw the same face out of Brett Brown. We saw the same face out of Doug Peterson. We're starting to see the same face out of Doc Rivers, if we're going to be honest. But eventually, Rob's going to be the guy. It doesn't matter if the interim's right now, or if it's in 2 weeks, or if it's in a month, or whatever it is. He's going to be here, because I don't know what else you'd be looking for. I can't imagine them looking outside the box when you have this level of production from your manager and this connection, too. So I'm not too worried about it, because I think everybody understands the consensus. To be honest, I wouldn't even be surprised if they've already sort of had the talks, and everyone knows it's just about when, right? Look at this turnaround. All right, everyone. I want to thank you guys so much for kicking it with me today, this morning. Have my Starbucks iced coffee. Cold brew, actually. Black. It's the way to go. Missed out on my shoes. Disappointing. Not the way to go. But it is what it is. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. The next time we'll talk is probably after Sunday's game. I have a wedding tonight. I'm in the wedding. My best friend's getting married. Can't wait. Going to be exciting. So I'll probably combine Saturday night's game with Sunday's afternoon game and then speak with you all then. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. If you are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, the thumbs up button too, and then SeatGeek promo code BROADS. If you are a new user, get you $20 off of your purchase. It's a no-brainer. Get yourself to a game today that eliminates all those fees. Nobody likes those fees. Put that towards parking. It's free parking. Everybody loves free parking. SeatGeek promo code BROADS. And thank you guys so much. I will catch you on the next one.